we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, hey, I wonder if we're live. Hey, we are live. Fantastic. Let's. Oh, my volume's way down. Hey, we are live. There we go. Let's. Oh, yeah, mic volume sounds pretty good. So let's drop that to there. And. Oh, yeah. Let me grab the link here. I'm going to do a real quick intro. We'll get to work here today. Bop, bacon. All right, hey, cool. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and I publish online. And I have been streaming creation of an Eberron Adventure for 5th edition that we'll be publishing on the DMsGuild. I've been a DM for Dungeons & Dragons since 1987. I've been a Eberron enthusiast since, I want to say, 2004. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. And I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2017, but I've never published an adventure on my own. I've done a number of layers, random tables, encounters, stuff, a lot of maps, but I've never actually published an adventure. So we're correcting that. We're making Crystals of Mabar. It's for 4 to 5 characters, a level 7 to 8, set in the world of Eberron, 5th edition. I'm on the X Twitter platform. If you want to keep track of what I got going on there, I'm at Phil Kearney. We just released subclasses Revivified, the remaining 69 subclasses that had not been updated for 2024. That's out on the DMsGuild right now. It's number 2 in hot bestsellers, right behind Keith Baker himself. So we're doing pretty good. And yeah, coupons, look-sees, works in progress, and the bloody blahs is what we got going on over here. So kick into that and likes. Holy Hannah, we picked up some more subscribers today. Thanks, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when I am live in the future. The full 335 episodes of creating this adventure are here on the playlist. I start a new project often. Well, I wouldn't say often. Every few months, I've got a new project on the plate. So if you have FOMO, just stick around. I'll start something new, and you can be on the ground floor and move through the entire book with me if you want to. Here's a number of other books that we've created. A lot of them we've actually built or updated or modified or walked through here online. So you can check through my live stream playlists. Almost everything I do is live streaming. So I occasionally, rarely create like program content. Normally it's part of production of whatever my new book is. Spelljammer Combat and Exploration was the last big book that I created. I made a series of videos about the ideas that were inside of there. You can see those in my actual stuff list. Video list, thank you. So we have the line art here, which we keep as a black and white token for laser printing. Here is the line art. Here's all the smudge iterations of what this creature would have potentially posed like. We're not quite done yet, though, because I need to... One more thing. Uncle, it's always one more thing. I'm going to take all of this, pull it up a bit. We have to have the egg that this thing is breaking out of. It's kind of perching on top of the effects. So I'm going to just make a quick little circle here. Okay, I had made mention on my Discord server, and if you're not on my Discord server, you are most invited to my Discord community here, as well as my Patreon. Thank you for those that are interested. But last night on my Patreon, on my Discord channel, I had stated that I was having ideas for the Mega Dungeon that we'll be using to playtest the Martial Powers supplement that we've been designing. We'll be designing Martial Powers today as well. I think I'm scheduled around a lunch around 1:30 today. That's Seattle time. That's 6.5 hours from now. I'll be back on for an hour or so. We went through the Artificer subclasses yesterday, and just did some concept walkthroughs and design process stuff, like decision makings that was made, just walking through how that stuff worked. And so I guess it was more of an FYI episode yesterday than an actual design stream. But we did get through the basics of the scaffold of the Artificer and the subclasses. And now we're at the point where we want to start. We're going to. We have a number of martial power focused infusions that I want to double check, and I want to just give another look over of the infusions in general that are all already in Tasha's, just to make sure everything that we're working with is jiving with everything else. So I'm figuring out this circle here. It's too yeah, it needs to be more like that. That's a proper circle from this perspective. Okay, cool. So now that we have that established, I can blow that out. You can see where the center is off balance on the piece. So let's scrunch that over just a smidge. Snidge achieved. Now it's the war of the sides. So which one feels better? Let's duplicate the layer and then free transform. Flip horizontal. I like to do this with the things I do. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Okay, that's point center. So we can use that. We can merge down here. We can erase the chaff. So this is that's how I go about making easy symmetry. By doing two halves and flipping them over each other, merging them together, and taking the best iteration of both. Be like that. And it should extend up like this, but it doesn't. Hold on. This needs to be a little bit more. Let's go to perspective. Yeah, a little bit more like that. I'm going to start a new layer. We'll go like this. All right, so sorry, I was about to talk about the the mega dungeon that we're going to build for this iteration of playtesting. So the idea is taken from Magic the Gathering. The Blind Eternities is the term that's used in Magic the Gathering for the space between the different worlds of existence, all the different settings and planes that you can that exist as narrative spaces in the MTG multiverse. So the idea is if we're going with, it could be elemental, but we're going to go with color for now, just for the example. The Blind Eternities are basically paths that you can walk between the planes as planeswalkers. You walk the Blind Eternities, and we're going to take a beat from the Adventurer's Guide to Chronomancy that I participated in back in was it 2020? Yeah, at the end of 2017, 7 years ago. The Adventurer's Guide to the Adventurer's Guide to Chronomancy. Love the book cover. Hold on, let me show you. I love the book cover to it. It's not one of the books I'm highlighting right now, but Chronomancy. There it is. The Adventures in Chronomancy. Thank you. It's been a while. I made that book cover. I love this book cover. Let's open that image next here. Burp. So these pathways here, there's different portals that lead to different spaces in time, and these spaces in between. In the time travel campaign that I ran from level 20 using this. This was the space in between time, and these are phase spiders that took over that time space as though it were the ethereal. It weaved together all these different strands of time into this web complex. So when you get dumped into here, you have basically immortal phase spiders that want to eat you. And all these little different points of light throughout here are different moments in time that you could travel to in the campaign. So you'd run through and things could chase you into the paths of time from time to time. So the idea that I'm having for this mega campaign is that instead of being in between, this is the blind eternities. And each one of these nodes is a different color, and when you dive into them, you end up in a different environment, a different dungeon space. And all the creatures have mana crystals that cost, like, say, 10 gold pieces each. So we go back to the old school first edition style of campaigns where you don't get experience for killing monsters, you get experience points for gold pieces worth of treasure. So all of these different locations have mana stones that are if you use a stone, it gives you a point of mana. And for every point of mana, it's worth 10 gold pieces. And the gold pieces, that's the amount of experience points. The amount of gold that you gain per level is the amount of experience points that you need to gain a level. If you need 2,000 experience points to get to your next level, you need 2,000 gold pieces worth of mana crystals, or 200 mana crystals, and you absorb the essence of the mana in those crystals to empower yourself to gain a level. Otherwise, they're just mana crystals that you can spend for free mana. So the game will have, in this campaign, saying there'll be hype levels of mana that you can spend to do more powers, more spells, more whatever it is you do with mana. But every time you do that, you eat your experience points. So you can't gain a level until you accumulate these crystals. So at any given time, you can have a ton of treasure of crystals that you can blow on a shitload of mana. Or you can absorb all of it as plus maybe six people worth of experience points for that region. So we'll make a region, and then all these little different nodes that you're going through the blind eternities. You go through the blind eternities on these different pathways like a dungeon, right? And some of them they'll lead off to these nodes, and then we'll have like a red node, a blue node, a white node, a green node, black node. And so when you go to these different locations, whatever monsters in that area, there'll be crystals you can accumulate, and we can do it like this instead, where like you have to go through one node to get to another pathway of additional nodes. So like you'd start here, and then like you can go here, and this is a little tangent, and then here and here and here. So we'll have high treasure rooms, which are dead ends, and then we'll have low treasure rooms, which act as doorways to new paths through the eternities. So like we can do like that, and we can link them together. So we can just make a dungeon out of it. But it's more ephemeral, that you're going from point to point into these different spaces. And so the idea here would be I'll build a dungeon, and at the end of the session, do you guys want to keep pushing through the blind eternities, or do you want to go into one of these dead end nodes here and explore that space more? And if they do, we then blow that out into a 5-room dungeon of its own, that ultimately is a dead end, but it offers a full space. It's like, okay, great. Well, we're going to go into that, and we're going to open up that dungeon space, and however far we get through by the end of the session, we'll withdraw from it, and then go back to the Blind Eternities, and then when we come back, we can continue climbing through the Eternities. So, or you could go and it's like, we can keep pushing through, or you guys could decide, like we took care of this one, so let's go to this node next, and then next session maybe you take out that one, and then like the next session, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions later, you've ran out of unique nodes. Now you have to push further into the Blind Eternities here to be able to find more nodes that you can gather crystals from. So, and the campaign would, there you go. But there'll be like other magic items like spellstone. There's mana crystals and there's spellstones, and hold on. And spellstones hold spells or powers that you can just use with your own mana, or you can hold a mana crystal and a power stone, one in each hand, and you can use the battery of the power stone to fuel the spellstone. So you can start creating multi-use like spare spell books that you can pull out of these spell crystals. So we'll have spell crystals, we'll have spell stones, we'll have mana crystals, and then they'll just be random gear built from spells or the player's handbook or whatever. I mean DMG, etc. So once that's why I want to hold off until November to start the playtesting again. We'll probably be done with the playtest content necessary next week or so, right in time for November. So then we'll switch over to building the mega dungeon format, like I'm talking about. So today at lunchtime, and then tomorrow brunch stream will be building out the power gear magic item lists. So catch me in 6ish hours, and it'll be 1:30 Seattle time, 4:30 East Coast time. Yeah, it's it's only 7:06 right now. Cool, I have an hour. Yeah, hold on. That's good. Let's get rid of that circular shape here. We can merge this down. Feels pretty good. Just want to break this shit. We'll go back over this again real quick with cleanup lines before we integrate it into the character. Yeah, and so the Gathering the Realms, I believe, when I worked on that project, I believe it had a color breakdown of all the different monsters in the monster manual, like what color each one would be considered if it were a magic card, which we can now use to theme each dungeon node. Is going to be an environment. It'll be devoted, so it'll be a color that the environment will be devoted to that color, and then the monsters and challenges and enchantments and artifacts that'll be inside of it will be that color. And the treasures will be themed around, like if it's a blue, like let's go with node. If it's a red node, it could have like salamanders or like fire giants or like ettins or zorns, whatever, and it would be like maybe like in an underground cavern environment with lava as a hazard, and like a global enchantment effect that's like everyone has haste. So when you go into that space, you'll have haste, but so will all the monsters, and all the treasure that you'll get will be red, and plus another color perhaps, like red plus something else maybe. It's like I'll roll a d6, and if it's 1 to 5, white, blue, black, red, green, and then number 6 will be whatever the base color is. In this instance, it's red. So if I roll a 4 or a 6 on that d6, all the treasure will be pure red. But like if I rolled a 1, it'd be like red and white. So we can build encounters and themes around what's the color code and what's the treasure that's going to be there. The mana crystals, the magic items, the spell stones, they'll all be red or a red combo thing. So you can prioritize like what color mana does your character use. If you're using just a generic narrative system, then it's like I'm going to play a Boros Paladin, so my mana is white and red. So when you run across a mana stone and it's white or red or both, you can use it. But you don't necessarily have to track specifically what the points are. It's just labeled as like Boros, for instance. So then you can. So that's how you can divide up the treasures. Like this isn't useful to me. I can't actually use this, but like if it's a spell stone, you could, because you'd be able to. You could potentially power it with any mana, or like you have to be devoted to these 2 colors of mana to make use of this spell or whatever. So we can play it at different degrees. That can be part of the playtest. And then you can just provide level appropriate spells in stones that basically act as scrolls that you can use, but you have to spend your own mana on it. Some of them could like be self-funded, like actual scrolls, but others could be these spell stones that you're basically just adding to your repertoire of things you can spend mana on. And like some of them might have a use limit. So we're still figuring it out, but the use limit could be like whenever you use the ability, if you roll a 1 on your power die, the spellstone is exhausted, and now it becomes it's worthless. So you can't get experience points if it runs out of magic, because it can't fuel you anymore. Or we could be like spellstones don't provide mana at all, or like it becomes a mana stone that can hold as much mana as the level of the spell that it was, so that it becomes a mana stone that you can then cash in. And as we gain higher levels, each mana crystal can hold more mana, so it's worth more. It's 10 gold pieces per point of mana that a crystal can hold, or level of spell, or maybe level of rarity. So it'd be like 1 to 5. Everything would be on a scale of 1 to 5. And like spells would be, I guess spells would be the exception to that rule. But we're just going to stay with spells level 1 to 5 and not offer high magic as one of the spellstone options. Like you can't put high magic in spellstones, only spells level 1 to 5. So that puts our 1 to 5 cap into place. So only spells levels 1 to 5. Cantrips, if they're spellstones, they're considered first. And cantrips don't require mana, so there's no worry there. So I guess it could be like, yeah, you could have like the stone is self-fueled, so it'll work X amount of times, and that'd be a power die roll, and whenever you roll a 1, it burns out that way. Or like maybe it could be a spellcasting check. And if you fail the spellcasting check, this is the last use of the item that you get. Stuff like that. Almost there with this. I like that. That looks really cool. Okay, that's good sketch. Let's drop our character back in. That's pretty good. Because he's going to be in front of all of this stuff, but behind these little shards here at the bottom. So that's really fucking cool. This is going to work, dude. This is going to work. Let's flip this to see if we like it better flipped. Oh yeah, I actually do like this better. These little shards in front of the hands conceal them a little bit. The hands were the weakest piece. I'm hiding the feet, folks. You're witnessing Phil hiding the feet. So I want to have a little bit more of a warble effect back here. Oh god, that's perfect. I'm getting a real Goku-ish sort of vibe going here. I don't know why. God, that looks cool. Okay, so that's how we're gonna play that. So I'm gonna go over this again real quick. That guy sits there. Let's grab this. We're gonna drop the opacity so it becomes a suggestion. And we're going to take that suggestion. We're going to turn it into illustration. So, and then we'll merge the character into it. Come on, Kearney. There you go, buddy. What time is it? 55. It's 15. I've got 40 minutes left. Which is good. It means we get to start the color today. Scratching my scritchies. Yeah, I'm thinking in martial powers. I'm thinking about opening it up to full casters using the Warlock scaffold, which means I might be doing Warlock scaffolding this weekend for the full casters. I was talking yesterday about the about Warlocks being the chassis to use for full casters in this sort of in this martial powers sort of idea, and then I put out and then I mused, oops, all Warlocks. So it looks like I'm going to build an expansion for the Spellpoint Warlock book and potentially build out all the full casters in the Spellpoint Warlock book. Now that it's gone gold, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to keep. I think I might just keep it as pay what you want because it's such a great loss leader. But I want to do that. I really want to do that. Oops, all Warlocks book now. And what a stupid title. I think I like it. And then provide special invocations for druids, clerics, bards, wizards, sorcerers, all those primary full casters. Get them into the Warlock Pact Magic plus Arcanum, so everyone is on that short rest mechanic, and everyone has the same level 1 to 20 points of mana, and I really like that. And then we already have the Eldritch Eldritch Cunning that gives you mana back when you start an initiative. So you're keeping your Warlock fed, and we have the mana crystal. We have the mana stones. You know what? The mana stones almost feel like a requirement for the Artificer. I think I'm just going to give them mana stones for free as just part of the infusion process. Like, one of the things that you can just automatically do for free when you gain the infusions feature is you can condense ether into mana crystals that you can then burn as batteries, which is what inspired the mana crystal idea. What really inspired the mana crystal idea was somebody's YouTube channel. Hold on. Nope, it wasn't here. Hold on. Oh, there. Hold on. I know where it is. Let's go over here. There we go. It's this dude. Red Ragged Fiend. Nice. He's I just discovered this dude. He just popped up in my feed. I'm going to drop him into the chat. But this was a fun channel that I stumbled into, and he was talking about how he fell in love with wandering monsters, and he had pointed out that you don't kill the monsters to get experience, you kill the monsters to get treasure. And I'm like, I don't want you lugging around gold. So instead, we can just make the treasure mana stones, and then the mana stones are crystals or gems that can be sold as gems, or you can destroy them for mana. So let me go to chat here real quick and just drop him here in the channel. So Red Ragged Devil, I think was the name, and check his stuff out. He's got less subscribers than I do, so. If you see this, give him some love. But it was a great dissertation on the value of wandering monsters. And he was very specific about making sure that you reframe the term, not random encounter, but wandering monsters, because it represents the stuff that shows up between the rooms in a dungeon. Like we were talking about the Blind Eternities mega dungeon. The wandering monsters, it would be wandering monsters. It would be random incursions. It would be so while you're walking along on a d6, if I roll a 1, then an incursion occurs where you're walking through the Blind Eternities and suddenly you find yourself in a node. So you can either run away from it by walking backwards out of it and then going a different direction, or if there's no other way to go, you have to deal with it. But it becomes a temporary dungeon room that your characters have one session until the end of the session to deal with. When we start the next session, the incursion will be gone, and so will whatever opportunities are in there. So the incursion, so nodes and incursions. Nodes are their own little micro dungeon space that you can delve into. And then there's just straight let's see. Actually, not node, but you'll have some hallway that can branch to different rooms, and the rooms will either lead to a node, which is its own little mini dungeon, that you'll choose to deal, like you can deal with the front room, but that front room becomes a door, becomes the entrance to that micro dungeon. And so you only deal with the entrance rooms during the session, and if you want to go and explore one of those nodes, then I'll build the dungeon that week, and then we can come back and we can mess with it next time. And so while you're walking the Blind Eternities, you can either go into nodes or just start plotting. I mean, I only have so much random space generated, so I'll probably have I'll try to have 10 at any given time plus random encounters, and we'll make maps out of each of them so that they have interesting environments. And this will be spoiler alert stuff for my player base, so it'll be up to them to decide if they want to spoil it for themselves. But I'm not going to keep anything secret. It's just mega dungeon stuff. If there's a plot, it will emerge on its own. The environments don't necessarily set that. It could determine what kind of villains show up during the course of the game, and like other adventuring parties that you might run across while in the Blind Eternities that might run and gun against you to steal your treasure. So that could be one of the wandering monsters is other planewalkers that are seeking treasure. So they'll just look at you as another monster to defeat. Oh, and you can short and long rest when you conquer a node. You can short or long rest there safely before delving deeper into the dungeon. And hold on, something went wrong there. But if you're in a I'm trying to think of like these little incursions that you find, and then you defeat that room, and that opens up the path to the next point inside of the Blind Eternities. So it'd be like you're marching along here, and then there's a node, or like this is a node, and this becomes a branching. This is a, I guess, I don't know I don't have a name for these things yet. Steps, doors. They're doors. We'll call them doorways for now until we find a better word. Here and here, and this is another node, so it's a dead end. But if you wanted to, next session we can delve into it as its own dungeon. That'd be themed around what, like this one's red, this one's blue, this one's white, this one's blue, this one's green, this one's black, and this one's like a node. So if you want to delve into this one next time, we'll build a 5-room dungeon out of this that'll be black and either white, blue, red, or green themed, or black if I roll a 6 on 6. So that's the idea. So you can't get here or here's like this. You can't get here or here until you open this room. So by defeating this room, you can open up that space, and defeating the room. I was about to say you have to kill the monsters to defeat the room, but I don't want you to have to kill monsters. There's this treasure in there. It'll take X amount. It takes X amount of mana to open a door. That'll be it. So you don't have to deal with the threat in a room if you don't want to, but if you don't deal with it, if you remove it, you can long rest there, or long or short rest there. If you don't defeat it, you have to move through the room, and then you have to pop X amount of mana, and the amount of mana. I don't know. Maybe you can escalate. Maybe at the quote unquote first level of the dungeon, it only takes 1 mana to open the door, to open each door, and then as you continue going further and further, like each session. Maybe whenever I have to expand the Blind Eternities map, maybe the act of expanding the Blind Eternities indicates you're now in the 2nd level. So as we move further and further away from your plane of origin, the challenges become more and more powerful. They become higher and higher levels. They require more and more mana from you to open. Maybe we can build 20 rooms, or like 20 levels worth of Blind Eternities. And each of the nodes and waypoints that you move through are a higher and higher CR. Like this is a 20, like this is a challenge for 20th level characters, and then the CR will be set by whatever that would mean. So the CR doesn't matter; it's the level of your characters. So you start at level 1 to 20 dungeon, right? I hope they're rebuilding CR so that it's. Well, I guess they can't. I was about to say I'd love to have it set so that the CR of the creature is the level of the characters that should be fighting them. But that's not really how CR is designed to work. CR gives you a certain amount of experience points. The amount of experience points that you need is designed is determined by the number of people, number of characters and their level in the party. So like if you should be averaging 7,000 experience points per encounter with monsters, then that tells you that like they should be like 7 CR4 creatures, for instance, something like that. Whatever totals the amount of experience points that you need, that's the composition of monsters that you want. But we're going back to the old D&D style of experience equals treasure collected. So that would then mean like this monster typically holds this amount of treasure, but we could also set the room to have X amount of treasure, and the monster is the monster. The monster might not directly correlate with the amount of treasure that's in the room, but it generally should. We could have a randomizer like plus minus 20% or even plus minus 50%, something like that, to keep it interesting. And or it could be like there's guaranteed to be 2 times the amount of treasure of the level of your character or something like that. But you have to find it, and so if you fail your search checks, you can't find it, which is fine. You just go on to the next room. It's like, I can't find it here. Instead of fixating that I know for a fact there's treasure in here, we just can't find it. It then instead becomes the higher the result of your checks is the amount of treasure that you find. That could be the way that we could frame that. So we're experimenting again, but the way that we experimented and designed last time was with a hex crawl system, where there was a lot of open space to explore in a very Beckney hex crawl style of game that was exploration. And that de-emphasized exploration doesn't require nearly as much mana as combat does. So we didn't have a great opportunity we didn't churn through a ton of combat. And that was my fault as a DM. We would end up doing a bunch of exploration stuff and seeing things and interacting with it that takes time, but didn't necessarily require you to sling a lot of mana around. So that became... after a while, it became unproductive. So it was great that the player's handbook dropped when it did, because we were in 6th level at that point, and it's like the campaign, I wasn't hitting the goals of the playtest, so I needed to stop it. So that was really just great. It was a great coincidence. So that gives us a chance to stop it and I already knew we were going to reformat the campaign, quote unquote, to be a mega dungeon, and now these mega dungeon ideas are falling into place, and I'm kind of liking gamifying the mechanics, like building the game around the way that the mana mechanics work, and having it be like an alternate scenario for people to run types of like one-shot campaigns, or just crawls, or like if you're playing a Magic the Gathering campaign and you want your characters to be planewalkers, they could blow X amount of mana. Like maybe it takes 5 mana to open up a Blind Eternity. Once you know like that could be it. If you know a teleportation spell, or like etherealness or plane shift or something like that. If you have the ability to skip past time, maybe you take a feat, or like it's a skill that you can open up the Blind Eternities, so at any place at any time your characters could dive into this dungeon space and move through these points, and each one of these nodes could be a different world. So that could be a way for, like, once you get to actual plane hopping, you can use your plane shift, or your like teleport without error, or your gate, or astral projection, or whatever spell it is that you're using to travel the planes, etherealness. You could use that spell and have a destination in mind, and then go through the Blind Eternities to get to that destination. And the level of the spell cast determines the number of challenges that you have to face to reach your destination. And it sets the CR, because a higher level character is going to be able to cast that spell, so it's going to be higher level challenges. as opposed to a low-level spell will have lower-level challenges and it will be a shorter trip. So it might be worth your team's time at higher levels to use lower-level spells, but like those lower-level spells might not be as accurate. So maybe that's what we do. We make plane walking not an ability, but a spell, like a meta magic power, a planar power that you can use to open up blind eternities to plane walk. And it's just the amount of mana. Maybe if you spend only 1 mana, it's a I'm starting to think things through too much. I don't want to do that. So the planeswalking power would just simply be to open up the paths wherever it is that you're at right now. You open up new eternities to drift through, or if you're already on paths, it just returns you to the blind eternities. Or maybe each adventuring party, each campaign has a specific path through the blind eternities, and whenever you use the blind eternities, you pick up wherever you're at on the path to continue into new realities. That's kind of a neat idea. I'm going to let that shit percolate a little bit, and if any of y'all that catch this have any thoughts about it yourself, you are most welcome again to drop into my Discord channel and talk to me about it. So again, my Discord channel is down here, and here's my Patreon if you want to support me. So that's the mega dungeon that we're going to build. So in the next couple weeks, we'll have all that figured out. And I think because I'm going to rebuild the Color Mana Spell Point Variant Rules Core Mechanics book to integrate the revised Color Mana spell list and do all the updates for 2024. So we have to do the scaffolding for all of the classes anyway. Maybe I should, once I finish the Artificer here, we can go back to the Warlock and we can start looking at all of the full casters in that Pact Mana format that we were talking about. Hold on. There. Yep, there's the link. Good one. That's exciting. So you might want to keep the long rest, and that's fine because that'll be in the core mechanics. But then the everyone as Warlocks will use the Spell Point Warlock system that we developed. How fucking fun is that? Okay, so I think this is good. Well, it's better. It's not perfect. I still have some scratchiness in here because it looks like I was still deciding stuff. So we can remove that for scrap. We can drop this one down again. Yeah, so let's go over this one more time to make sure it's clean, and then we'll get the coloring. Finally. And then once we convert the Warlocks, we can start looking at doing a Creative Commons ttrpg Kickstarter project where we take the Warlock chassis and rebuild all of the classes so that their their point buys and your class features replace invocations, but they'll all have like you have to be character level X to have access to this. So we can actually go look at the Master of None supplement on the DMsGuild that gave a point value to every class feature that existed in the player's handbook. I don't know if they plan on updating that for 2024 or not. It doesn't really matter. We're going to we're going to take all of that and then so you can like you gain a character level and then you pick more invocations to augment what your character can do. Like you can take sneak attack and like gain more mana, and well, you'll automatically have a mana scaffold, and you'll automatically get the Arcanum mana at level 11. Even if you aren't a spellcaster, if you decide to go full martial, I mean, you'll still have mana effects like powers to spend on, but you would also have like meta magic as a sorcerer to modify your spells. You'd have potential wild shaping. If you opt into wild shaping, you can spend invocation powers in leaning further and like maybe it's scaffolded, so like every 4 levels you have to take another invocation of wild shaping so you get up the CR of creature that you can shape into. We can build a scaffold like that. Channel divinity. We can remove channel divinity, but take all the powers that you gain from channel divinity and make those make those blessings. And then so you can pick up a blessing, which is and the way that blessings generally work is you use it and then you spend 2 points to gain use of it again, and that way you can spam your way through channel divinity stuff. Well, with this system, you could just get as many channel divinities as you want instead of spells, and your character could just channel divinity all the time. So and you could blend that in. So like you could be a wild shaping blessings based character that just has these low cost things that you wild shape yourself, and then while you're wild shaped, you blow all your mana on blessings, for instance, or strike spells, which are like smite, the paladin smites, or you really get into sustained effects, and we can replace all the spell casting that's in the books, and instead we can like 4E it a little bit, where we'll just have everything is channeling, but like the maneuvers that we have will be expanded out into like say rituals and casting and like spells. So we can simplify all the spells in the player's handbook to be like, you don't need concentration. You can, if these are buff effects, you can just turn them on. There you go. And everyone's self buffs. You don't buff other people. When you affect other people, it's either like temporary, like until the beginning of the next turn, their speed doubles, or they have flight, or whatever it is that you're doing, or you're affecting other people until they can save their way to get out of this. They're blinded or whatever, and take X damage or whatever it is that they do. So we can buff out stuff that way. So we can take all of the spells, all of the character options, all of the feats, all of it, and convert it into mana cost stuff. That would be a significant project. And then you can leave the mana. You can either devote it to something like the color mana system that we have, or you can use the elemental system with the 4 elements. There'd be like the light and dark side of the force, and earth, mind, soul, and mind, body, and spirit. Thank you. Could be a triad magic paradigm. Obviously, magic color is my favorite, but that's Wizards IP specifically, so I wouldn't be able to use this mana system, this like universal mana system for color magic, unless I publish on DMsGuild, which I won't do, because it's a complete role-playing game system. Like the mana systems that we've been building supplements and replaces supplements marshals to compete with spellcasting, but it doesn't reformat spellcasting. So this new idea that we're currently talking about would completely reformat spellcasting so that it's this lasts up to a minute, or it's a sustained power that you lock on, or it's an instant effect that affects somebody else. And we can convert all of the spells into AoE stuff. Like spells do AoE, while strikes do single target effects. And then we could have like ranged spell effects. So we can reimagine spell casting and the powers that we're developing to then just be like sorceries or like sorceries, instants, and enchantments. If you really want to be cheeky about it, so we can use that terminology inside of the game engine, but leave the mana generic and universal, and then explain how to apply a magic paradigm. And then on my Patreon, we can build out all sorts of Magic the Gathering stuff using that system. And we can take Planewalker's cards and translate their Planewalker abilities into mana blessings. So it would be 5e, but it's like its own thing. I have no idea if that would sell or not. But it's a super fucking cool idea. And as a DM, I'm a players roll everything sort of DM. So building this out, it would be all player facing. So you'd have that going for you. Love that. Yeah, maybe that's what we're going to do. We're going to just build out a whole new role-playing game. Let's add that to the list of Kickstarter projects that I'll be launching after 2025. So I think 2025 is probably going to be the last year that we're on the DMs Guild. Other than like adding more Spelljammer, like just doing fun. Well, okay, yeah, I'll probably always be doing MTG stuff, but I don't know. If I start building momentum on my Patreon, I can move off of the DMs Guild and just start offering content to Patreons. Maybe that's my 2027 goal. I like that. I like the Blind Eternities idea a lot, though. We're going to go with that. That's definitely going to be our campaign. And I like the Oops All Warlocks because that's viable, but that just becomes the prelude to the role-playing game that I'll build for myself. And it'll be Creative Commons, and it's going to be its own thing, and we'll disintegrate the idea of, like, we won't have classes anymore, but we'll have paths. Focus. We'll have different focuses, or maybe like different studies. There you go. Studies. We'll call them studies. You can have access to different studies, and depending on how far down the rabbit hole you go with a study depends on what kind of access to stuff you get. And we can offer a Pathfinder scaffolding, and we can offer a 5e scaffolding. I think we're almost done. So with God's grace, I'll have another 20 years to do this stuff, and we'll be able to keep building like this. Because we might have some really fucking cool stuff in 5-6 years from now. But I hope as I age, I'll be able to continue producing artwork like this and being able to design stuff and just get better and better at designing and running games as I age, and As long as I can retain cognizance, there's no reason, my hands hold out, there's no reason for me to ever stop doing this stuff. Now look at Ed Greenwood, man. He's getting there. And he seems to, I mean, he's just started doing YouTube. As far as I know, he just started really like doing promotion stuff on YouTube videos. Like he's expanding his brand. And he's hold on. That's super fucking inspiring. So I'm in. We'll see where reality takes us. As far as I know, he just started really Oops, I forgot this stuff. Almost done, and then we'll start coloring. Here. I just want cleaner lines than what we currently have. There's so many things I want to do, and it's just little old me. I really pray that something about the stuff that I do just explodes, and I get to a place where I can start running a team and like pay a team to help me build stuff. But I have to get off the DMsGuild to do that. I have to start building like Luke at DM's Lair. Really did a great job in using his Patreon to build a business around. And I need to start thinking that way if I'm going to be able to hire a team that understands like these ideas that I have. So I can have more than just me building stuff the way that I want to build it. Yeah, like that. And that should be everything. How are we looking? A little bit of cleanup there. This all looks real good, so let's drop that into there. Let's duplicate this layer. And go here and here. Let's drop the opacity of the character, so that we know what we're actually erasing, which is the character. Like that. Oops, that should stay. feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. Okay, so let's take that and that. I'm going to duplicate those. Push them up into the black-white. Now that I'm looking at this, I feel like I can afford to drop him further down into this stuff. Let's see how that goes. Let's duplicate this layer before we have our Gertz. Let's erase all that stuff. This is fun. I like this. Oh shit. Am I out of time? Fuck. We were supposed to start coloring today. Yet again. Duplicate those layers. Push up here into black and white. Yeah, I like that. That's just cool. So that's good. And let's go back to here. These are good. We'll take this and this. We'll drop them down into the scrap. I can at least get some color started. So let's grab a base color here. I've got just like a few minutes left, so we can at least get some base going. Base! Line. So that's good. Yeah, scrap, and then we'll do that for now. Yeah, let's just get the outline in. I can hear myself. You know, you got a point. I wanted this done today, so on Monday we could have a hard shift into the next thing. But I'm okay with this being. I mean, I've certainly got the this weekend we'll have the front end of the book done, and will officially be for the Eberron book. This is for. We'll have the first like the intro and like how the adventure works and like the history background of the adventure, like context, like why is this an adventure, all that stuff. That's going to be done tomorrow. I won't stream it, but that'll be, and then from there we get into making sure all the maps and like the text for all the images, all the text for all the different rooms and parts of the adventure, like the locations, is properly fitting on the page and trimming the content. So that means I could potentially switch gears. Once we finish this token, we could, instead of moving on to more tokens, we can start playing around with page dressing, like background images, coloring, the format of the book itself. And we already have a number of positions that have been opened up for illustrations and maps and stuff. We can start filling those pieces in and creating the stuff that needs to be created. So there's some interesting stuff right ahead. So we could finish this Yugoloth on maybe like on Monday, and then on Tuesday we could like start doing the front end of the actual layouts, like doing the artwork in the actual book. And that sounds super fucking exciting. So I might decide to do that just so we can take a break from doing tokens. Like, we've been doing a lot of tokens. Taking a break would be a great idea. That'll help me me mitigate burnout by switching gears for a little bit and get a sense of accomplishment for something that we've been working on for like literally 2 fucking years. And show you guys like where it's at and what it's going to look like. So that sounds actually like a pretty good idea. So yep, okay, so that's what we'll do on sorry, I'm using words. There's that. And then there's that. And we'll figure out what that warble in the background is supposed to look like. So we'll get that all straightened out. So that's it for now. I'm going to be back. It's 8:02. I gotta go. 5.5 hours from now, I'll be back online. It should be 5.5 hours. If not, I'll update differently. And then we'll do that for about an hour or so, and then we'll be back tomorrow morning. In about 25 hours from now, we'll be working on Oops All Warlocks, I guess. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot. Like, subscribe, blah de blah. Later, guys.